Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic, and let's dive right into it, guys. Of course, we are on the heels, we're on the cusp of the NFL draft. I know everyone is, excited. We're all excited, whether you're still a fan or not, but it's all Steelers here, so that's what we're going to talk about today. Everyone is excited, guys, and what I'm doing is just pulling up some of my notes here, guys. So if you see me looking down, you understand why. Now, basically, what we're going to talk about today, guys, we're definitely going to talk about the mock draft. I'm going to try to do a mock draft, a mock draft the best I can. I'm going to try to do it the best I can, guys. I'll be honest. This is not my profession. I am a professional Steeler fan, if you will. But I am not a scout. I am not a full-time reporter or someone who has access to, going to all of these different media outlets and things of that nature. No. So I have to tip the hat to those guys who do that. They do an outstanding job getting the information. All I could do is read and research for myself. I do look at film. I do listen to what other people have to say as far as guys who cover the Steelers or NFL people in general. I listen to what these different scouts have to say, and that's how I can acquire some more knowledge or allow me to give some type of opinion on what I think may transpire. Again, it's a mock draft. This is not gospel. This is just an opinion, and I'm going to give my opinion based on what we know about the Steelers as far as how they do business. And I've actually changed my mind in first round. So you guys are going to hear that in just a moment. And like I said, I'm going to try to give names through like round 4, which will be our 5th pick, essentially, because we have 2/3. So after that, I'll just say I'll throw out some other positions that I think that may fill the rest of the rounds, but we'll see. But before we do that, guys, I want to talk about Ryan Shazier. I see that Ryan Shazier, they picked up Shazier's 5th-year option, which I think is great. That's absolutely great because I think Shazier is coming into his own right now. I mean, we know he's had some injury problems, doesn't stay healthy. To me, it seems like last season he was the most healthy as far as, the consecutive amount of games. He got dinged up a little bit, but, he had a string of time where he was just on the field, and he was very productive. I still think that Le'Veon Bell is going – Le'Veon Bell. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back. What I meant to say is I still think that Shazier is going to be an outstanding Pittsburgh Steeler. I mean, he's already showing flashes, but when I say flashes, guys, I say that only because he's not on the field all the time. Throughout his career, he hasn't been. I think going forward, we're going to get a solid level of production from him. I'm predicting, and I hope I'm correct, that it will be what we got from Timmons. I hope now he goes on a string of just being healthy, and he has years after years after years, gives us a solid 10 years or so as a solidified, starter. I guess now you would tack on what he's already been there. So let's say another solid 5 years or so, being an outstanding guy, being at his peak. I think he has the potential to do that. Now, in terms of Le'Veon Bell, I did want to mention that as well. I think Bell is definitely going to get a contract signed before July the 15th. I have a feeling they're going to make that happen. They have just enough cap left to where they should be able to do that. So we'll see how that plays out. And again, Le'Veon Bell is also another thing that you have to keep in mind. This season is going to be very huge. And, it's going to be very, very, very detailed as far as how he performs. Will let us know, what the Steelers may do going forward if he does not sign a deal. Let's say he plays on the franchise tag. I think this year is going to be key because Bell has had an issue. As much as I love him, he has had injuries, things like that. He does give you outstanding production when he's on the field, but he's had injuries. He's also had, some suspensions. So you kind of have to play it by ear with him. I think the intentions are to get a deal done before July 15, which is the deadline, before having to allow him to play on the tag. And if they get a deal done, great. I'm happy. You can always, if for whatever reason things don't work out, you can always cut things of that nature. But I'm not wishing that on us. I think Bell is going to be outstanding as well. But keep an eye on that. I think a contract will still happen or will still transpire. I think it'll definitely happen before July 15th. Now, the last thing I want to talk about before I jump into the draft stuff, Martavis Bryant. I mean, let's see. It is 12:25 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesday before Thursday, the 27th, draft day. We still don't know. The only thing that we know more now is we do know that he had some hearing of sorts, but that's about it. We don't know what's going to happen, which, again, I think that's unfair that the NFL is not allowing the team to know as early as they should be able to know, as well as now, they go into the draft and they have to consider, what if this position is not there? I mean, I know that Kevin Colbert and Mike Tomlin was both saying in their conference yesterday that none of that is going to affect the way they draft, but come on. I mean, it might not directly affect what they're thinking, but let's be honest. You always go into a draft based on need, right? So the biggest areas of need right now, in my opinion, of course, cornerback, edge rusher, got to look at safety as well, whether the guy starts or not. You have to look at safety for two reasons. They want to play more dime, which I talked about last week. They want to have situations where they can get three safeties on the field. So that could be a reason why they look for a safety. And then inside linebacker as well, right? And wide receiver is a question mark also. We did get some security with Justin Hunter. But, you don't know exactly what Sammy Coates is going to be, which Sammy Coates will show up next year. You don't necessarily know what's going to happen with Martavis Bryant. You lost Marcus Wheaton, which we pretty much didn't lose anything because he stayed injured. But still, you have to replace that position. So those are, to me, are the needs. Again, edge rusher, cornerback, wide receiver, inside linebacker, probably running back as well. Because now Davis, I think he'll actually do more for us than what some people are saying. I see a lot of people are trashing him. I don't know why. I think he's going to give us more than what most people think. But at the same time, you got to get somebody else. Because, are we really confident with Toussaint? This is the time to go ahead and get a running back since the class is pretty deep. No one is really projected to go extremely high except for a couple people. There's going to be some running backs there. So that's how I feel about that. So, all right, guys, let's get into my quick mock situation. Now, keep in mind, again, like I told you guys earlier, I like to do my research, man. I listen to a lot of different opinions. Everybody from Dave and Dave, y'all know who that is. Dave Todd, Dave Bryant, SteelersDepot.com, Alex Kozor, who comes on there a lot. A lot of people. I just listen to a lot of people in regards to, even guys like Charlie Casserly and, all these guys, Daniel Jeremiah and all of these people. I listen to everyone just to see where they're at. Even when they do the show that you guys may have seen when Ike Taylor was on there, and he recently said that Jabril Peppers would be the pick, and I'm going to talk about him as well. But I have to listen to all of this just to see everyone's opinion, right? And then I do my own research, and then I kind of gather what I think based off of what it seems like what the collective may be, if it matches what my opinion is. So, for example, I don't just go with the flow. But if, let's say, out of 10 writers or 10, guys that do a mock or et cetera, and let's say 8 of them are saying what I'm saying, I got to pay attention to that because obviously I'm on to something, right? So I say all that to say this, man, based on need, here's how my mock draft is going to go. But hold on, let me give you something else before I even do that. Shout outs to Alex Kozor, because Alex Kozor does a lot of research in terms of trends. And we all know, as Steelers fans, it's very likely that you can follow the trends. We all know that they always bring in the pre-draft visits. We all know that, right? We all know that most of the time, and at least since 2010, like Alex has said, the Steelers have chosen a first-round draft pick of somebody that they were at their pro day. That's who the pick was. Go all the way back to 2010. Since that time, it's been somebody that they were in attendance at their pro day. Now, what's important to know is most of the time it's both Kevin Colbert or Tomlin. But it's very special if you see that they're both there and they bring a position coach. pushes that guy further up the ladder if you're thinking about Steeler history, right? How they draft and, using all of this historical data, right? So that's bringing me to my decision here. And you guys know I've been mainly saying that I thought we are going to go corner. I think we're going to get a corner in the first round. I'm not sure anymore, guys. And let me explain to you why. Okay. My number one draft pick, and I've been avoiding saying it, but again, let me preface you with this, and excuse me, guys, if I'm rambling. Y'all know I do this on the fly. I think it's better when you do it raw and natural like this. I don't pre-script anything, so sometimes I'm thinking as I'm talking, multitasking, if you will. Let me preface it with this. What I'm giving you is a mock scenario based on everything going as normal, meaning all of the top players we're expecting to go where they're going to go before 30. And some of the other prospects, we're expecting them to be available in the second round and third and fourth. I'm not considering who's going to fall or anything like that, not in this initial 1 through 4 picks. After that, I'm going to discuss a little bit some other scenarios. But this particular 1 through 4, I'm just going in accordance to who I think would be available, et cetera, et cetera. I think the Steelers' number 1 pick, guys, will be TJ Watt. Yes, I said it. I think it will be TJ Watt. I've seen other people mock him as well, but after doing my research, I have to consider that also. Listen to what I just said. The pro day stuff. Kevin Colbert, Tomlin, and Joy Porter was at Wisconsin's pro day, right? That's huge. Another thing, if you look at all of the different variables and like all of the different boxes that the Steelers like to check in terms of type of guys that they like, Watt kind of fits that mold. He has tremendous upside. Y'all know the Steelers are known for that. They are known for guys with tremendous upside. Every now and then we'll draft somebody in the first round that turns out to be outstanding. But look at just recent history. Look at guys like Ryan Shazier. Even they said Shazier was raw, but look at his strengths and weaknesses. We're seeing that. We've seen him gotten a lot better. Cam Hayward was a beast when he came out of college, right? But look at what he's grown to. I'll give you one even better than that. Stephon Tuitt. Stephon Tuitt was a guy that had upside, right? He had that, his junior year was his outstanding year. Had a little injury situation, I believe, gained a little weight. So his senior year wasn't as productive, but he had tremendous upside, right? And they took Stephon Tuitt. I believe it was the second round that year. See what I'm saying? The Steelers don't mind taking on, I don't want to call them projects, but guys that have tremendous upside. Just think about it. Go back and you Steelers fans, guys like myself that really follow the team. Think about some of the picks we've had over the last 10 years in all rounds. And they go for these guys, whether it's the first or seventh round, they like guys with upside. You understand what I'm saying? And at 30, I would have to think, man, that TJ Watt is probably the guy. Now, well, let me give you the rest of the picks and then we'll do some discussion. Pick number 2, I think it might be Trey White. And y'all remember at first I said that we would go corner first. But here's the reason why I don't think that's going to happen this time. You listen to Kevin Colbert and you listen to what Tomlin was saying, they really don't tell you much, but if you really pay attention to what they say, it's obvious that they want edge and they want corners. Both Kevin Colbert and Tomlin kind of basically said, and Colbert really said it, that the edge class and the corner class is deep, meaning the way I took that is, okay, they know they can get their guy at 30 and at 62. They know that. And I think it's going to be edge and corner. It could very well be corner edge, depending on who's the corner that's left. Now, again, I'm thinking that some of these guys are not going to be there. I mean, if you look at some of these guys, even off of the, the visits, I don't think a guy like, where's my guy, Humphrey, he's probably not going to be there, and that's one of the more top-rated corners, even though he has some rawness to him as well. I don't think he's going to be there. The guys from Ohio State, those corners, the names are slipping me right now. They're probably not going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the leading corner to play on the outside will be there at 30, as far as who you would want to spend a first-round pick on. However, it's very possible that we'll find a guy like that in the 3rd round. So let me continue and go through my mock real quick, and then we'll come back. Round 3, I think we're going to pick in the first 3rd round pick, I think it's Josh Dobbs. I think we're going to pick Josh Dobbs as a quarterback. Now, again, the 2 3rd-round picks could flip, but I think they're going to grab that quarterback at that spot if he's there. I have to believe that it's going to be Josh Dobbs, possibly Brad Kaya. But I feel like between the two of them, I think the Steelers would lean more towards Dobbs if he's there. He'll probably be available in the 3rd round. The 2nd, 3rd-round pick, I'm going to jump out on the limb here, guys, but I think the Steelers go with another corner. Another guy who could potentially be there, Rasul Douglas. I think Rasul Douglas will be there. Go look at his measurables. This guy kind of fits the mold of what the Steelers, kind of like. Again, another guy that has some raw talent, huge upside. Go look at his film. I think that's going to be that 2nd pick in the 3rd round. And the 4th round, guys, it's really a toss-up for me right here because it could be running back, it could be receiver. I'm going to jump out on a limb, and I'm going to say that they're going to go receiver. I think it'll be the guy from Illinois, Kenny Golladay. I think that's who it's going to be, guys, because, a lot of talk is coming out saying that the Steelers Northern Illinois, the Steelers are high on this guy. Again, his measurables are off the charts. He's pretty decent speed, 4'5" guy. I think he's like 6'4", 220 something, big receiver. Again, Steelers want to definitely keep that insurance. But also, think about the type of receivers that the Steelers have grabbed in later rounds. Excluding guys like Antonio Brown, obviously. We got him in a late round. He's a smaller guy. But if you look at the last 3 years or so, you get your Martavis Bryants a little later in the draft, your Sammy Coates a little later in the draft, these big body guys. So I think the Steelers will follow that format, and they're going to grab a receiver. And I think it would be as early as the 3rd or 4th round, possibly 5th, again, depending on who's there. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say they draft this guy with the 4th pick. So now let's have some discussion, guys. Now, listen. This is just hypothetical. This could go all over the place because running back, at first, I thought we would probably get a running back in the 3rd. I don't think that's the case now. You know why? This guy named Connor, local kid that has this great story, the letter to the GM and all of that. I think the Steelers could pause and wait until later. Guy like Connor's going to be there 5th, 6th round. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not, but I'm pretty confident that he's going to be there in the 5th or 6th round. So you don't have to jump out there and get some of those other guys like Gallman and, those Foreman, those type of dudes that could work. But is that your immediate need? I said it is a need. I did say that, but I don't think that's a need where you have to run out and get the best guy. I think you get a nice compliment guy, which Connor could probably do that. He's a local kid, like I said. He's going to be there in the later rounds. Here's some positions I think the Steelers are also going to go after. So y'all already know I said edge rusher, corner, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. I think we're also going to get an inside linebacker, a tight end, and a safety. In terms of the rounds, I have no idea. In terms of who it may be, because, again, I'm thinking these guys are going to be later. I have no idea. I know Monte Nicholson is a guy that the Steelers have brought in. Again, look at the pre-draft visits. That's where you're probably going to find a lot of these other guys as well. They brought him in. He's projected to be a free agent. He's not even projected to be a draft pick. So that's probably somebody the Steelers might look at later on. See what I'm saying? Keep your eyes on a couple other things, man. A couple other names I want to throw at you. And let me give you another scenario as well. Let's say the Steelers do go with the corner first. I don't know who it's going to be. I think out of all of the people who are available, let me look at the draft visits again, pre-draft visits. Again, guys, I'm keeping in mind that the top guys are going to be gone. That's the way I'm looking at it, because that's how you have to approach it. You can't never predict a fall or a trade, which Colbert did say they're not opposed of trading out of the first round. So what if that happens? You see what I mean? So I'm thinking some of the guys that you would want to get to play on the outside to challenge a Ross Cockrell will probably be gone. So I'm thinking the Steelers are going to think slot first, because Colbert also said, again, they're not comfortable with Golson. We don't know what this guy's going to bring to the table. I mean, he said it plain and clear yesterday. He's been out for 2 years. He hasn't played an NFL snap, and he's had 2 foot injuries. We don't know what he's going to be. That explains bringing in Cody Sensabaugh to challenge that spot, as well as competing with Gay. And I think they're also going to draft a guy that can potentially play in the slot. That's why I think if they go edge first, the cornerback will be a guy like Trey White, who they're expecting will be available in the second round as a guy who can come in and play in the slot. But let's say they go corner first. Let's say somebody like Humphrey is there. Then I think it changes, because I think Watt comes off of the board before the 62nd pick. And in that case, you're looking at a Derek Rivers, I think, will be there at the Steelers pick. Possibly looking at guys like Lawson, which I'm hearing so much negativity on Lawson, and I have to agree after researching his medical history. I don't think you do that. I don't think you do that. Tack McKinley, maybe if he falls, into the second round, his injury situation is probably a little lesser of the two, but you just never know. You know what I'm saying? You never know what's going to happen. But I think that would be my picks if the Steelers are able to grab somebody in the first round as far as a corner. I think it'll be Humphrey. I think Humphrey has the potential to slide further than some of those other guys because he's a little raw, right? Sort of like Artie Burns. Remember that? Artie Burns was the same situation. I think Humphrey could slide to that spot. And in that case, I think they would draft a guy like that. Visited with him. He came in for pre-draft visit. Makes sense. And then, like I said, in the second round, in that case, I think Derek Rivers would be available. Then you get him. But I would have to say in the first round, man, I think you would take TJ Watt over Rivers or guys like that, in my opinion. I just feel that way. I feel that way now. Now, here's a couple other scenarios. Inside linebacker, I've seen some guys mock Raekwon McMillan. That's a guy that a lot of people are not paying attention to. That, yeah, he could definitely be a guy playing inside with Shazier. And again, pre-draft visit. Got to keep your eye on that. And let me read you guys the names again so we can kind of, discuss that in the comments as far as who some of these guys could be. Now, the quarterback situation. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back one other step. Another thing that Alex Kozor said is you have to pay attention to the number of positions, the number of people in that position that the Steelers bring in to visit. They brought in 10 outside linebackers. 10. That's clearly letting you know that there's interest there. They brought in 6 cornerbacks, right? But after that, they got 5 receivers, 5 safeties, and 6 quarterbacks. Excuse me. So that gives you a little idea of where the importance is, right? This is why I believe that the first 4 rounds are going to be edge, corner, quarterback, possibly another corner, and then the receiver in the 4th round. All right? So let me read you the names again real quick, guys, and then we'll try to wrap this thing up. Patrick Mahomes, Joshua Dobbs, Kenny Golladay, Josh Reynolds, receiver out of Texas A&M, Chris Godwin, Penn State kid, Mac Hollins from North Carolina, which is a big kid as well, Derek Rivers, Takaris McKinley, Carroll Phillips out of Illinois. I'm not familiar with him. Samson Ibukam from Eastern Washington. I'm hearing a lot of things about him. They're saying this dude is a super raw talent, but he could be something. Look out. That could be a pick later rounds. He's another linebacker. All right. Tim Williams from Alabama, which, again, he might be gone. If he's there, take a chance. Oh, Ryan Anderson, too. Let's not forget him. That's another guy I think that could slip further down, 3rd round or so, and that could shake up what the Steelers want to do, because I definitely think they're going to double dip in some of these positions. They're going to double dip at corner or double dip at outside linebacker / edge. Something like that. I think those two positions, one or the other, will be a double dip somewhere in the draft. So keep an eye on that. Tana Kapasnug, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but the guy from Villanova, I spelled that to y'all last week, so forgive me if I said it wrong again. Keon Adams, Pitta Tamapanu from Utah, Francis Cologne, Patrick Gamble, Jordan Lewis, Jalen Myrick. Those are two cornerbacks. Keep an eye on them. Marlon Humphrey, Josh Jones, safety. I didn't say anything about him because you would expect, based on projections and things like that, he might be gone by the second round or so. And I don't think Steelers go safety that early. Just my opinion. Unless certain guys are there. So let's say that real quick. Let me read these safety names. Josh Jones, Buda Baker, Obi Malanfanu. If one of these guys are available in the first, you never know what could happen. Steelers may see playmaker ability and grab that guy. Because remember when we drafted Shazier wasn't the pick. If y'all remember the conference that Colbert had at the time, they didn't think Shazier was going to be there, and it was like, oh, we got to grab him. So you just never know what's going to happen. Here's another guy, Jarrett Davis, inside linebacker out of Florida. That's another potential guy, but I don't think he makes it past the third round. Zach Cunningham, Jason Crone, Shaquille Griffin is another corner I'm hearing things about. I'm not that familiar with him out of Central Florida, but I'm hearing some things about him. There's Raekwon McMillan, Davis Webb. There's another quarterback, Brad Kaya. And then a local visits was Scott Orndorff. He's a tight end out of Pittsburgh. Monte Nicholson, James Conner, Nathan Peterman. There's another quarterback. Rasul Douglas, Ryan Lewis, Shelton Gibson, and Trayvon Hester, right? So when you look at that situation, and there's some guys that they met with at the pro day as well. So let me read this to you. They had dinner or meetings with them. TJ Watt, Vince Beagle, Carlos Watkins, Michael Roberts, Chris Wormley from Michigan. That's another DND line type of guy. Could be later rounds. Marcus May, Taco Charlton, Brad Kaya, and David Njoku, if I'm saying his name correctly. Tight end out of Florida. Out of Miami, I'm sorry. But just looking at that list, man, it just makes me feel like I don't know, man. I really don't know. Let me see what some of you guys are saying. My man Tony is the only one commenting at the moment, so let me see what Tony said. I can see your theory. I agree there would be 3 defensive players and 2 offensive players in the first 3 rounds. Running back will be in the mix. One thing about Colbert is he will find a steal in the later rounds. Absolutely. 4 rounds he meant. There might be 3 corners picked in the draft and 2 linebackers. That's very possible, Tony. Wide receiver will also, like I said, will be drafted. Yep. Can't wait till this weekend. Tight end is also might be in the mix. Yeah, man. It's like I said, I don't do this for a living, so it's hard for me to, make the picks. I don't know. I don't report this stuff. Like I don't dive in like Mayock and all those dudes, but we do it from a fan perspective. And like I said, I might be a little more extra than some average fan because I actually do research. I know the teams in and out. Like even you and I, we both said we plan to go to Latrobe this year. We are way more involved. So I've looked at film, but I couldn't give you the stat report on all of these guys. It's just entirely too many players. Our Steelers got scouts for that. But I definitely believe, again, let me read to you guys the positions. I definitely believe that these positions will be drafted in this round, in this draft. Edge rusher could be a double dip there. Cornerback could be a double dip there. Quarterback, Josh Dobbs, Brad Kaya. Those are the guys I'm thinking. I'm leaning towards Josh Dobbs. Wide receiver, running back, inside linebacker, tight end, and safety. I think that's what we're going to get out of this draft. Now, we could very well find defensive lineman late. You never know. We could very well find offensive lineman late just to have some more depth. You never know. We don't know who's going to fall. I saw Charlie Casserly put out what they're expecting to be his final mock. He thinks Hassan Reddick might fall to the Steelers. Now, that shifts everything. let Hassan Reddick be available. You daggone right, you know the Steelers going after him. I don't mean no harm. Let Reddick be available. Steelers is going after him. I really believe that if he's there at 30. So you just never know, man. And again, it could be one of those drafts where people are doing so much trading and things like that, and quarterbacks are going early and it's pushing people into the second round. It really will come down to the position of need and who's available. Imagine if some of these corners fall. Then I could clearly see the Steelers grabbing one of these guys like Lattimore, clearly, if they fall, or Humphrey. I could easily see that, because it's clear to me that Colbert and Tomlin have both stated what we're looking for, what they need. We need to be able to run more man coverage. And to me, that's both outside and inside. That's both slot and outside. So both of those positions are in play. That's why I think it could be a double dip, because I think the Steelers, in terms of corner, they double dip. I think they're looking for a slot guy, and they're looking for a guy on the outside that can challenge Ross Cockrell, right? Needless to say, if it's a double dip in the edge department, you can clearly understand that we need rotation. We need more depth behind James Harrison, and guys like that, because right now you're talking about like Chicolo and a few other guys, Arthur Moats, and these guys can be replaceable. I like Chicolo, though. I would like to see him stay. But we need more rotation behind James Harrison and, being able to give Bud Dupree a breather. So I could see double dip action all day with those two particular positions. Inside linebacker, I believe, is going to get picked up somewhere in the draft. And then safety, I think, is not as high priority as I would want it to be. Because contrary to what some people believe, man, Mike Mitchell is not as bad as everyone expects him to be. He's not that great, but he's not that bad either. It's not all his fault. Some of the things that we see on TV, I realize we don't know whose responsibility was what, but where I can criticize him is his bad angles. I can say that. But outside of that, you can't just always look at one player. And I got to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Leonard. Shout out to Leonard. I know he's going to see this, but we can't beat up Mike Mitchell all the time, because even the game that we just talked about a day or so ago, when we were talking about the touchdown that we gave up to Logan, he's standing in the end zone by himself. That was Robert Golden who made that error. So what I'm saying is I fully agree that for all us Steelers fans, Mike Mitchell is not the best roaming safety, cover safety. Absolutely not. He is a hard hitter. He's a lurker, hence the name Lurk Gang. He tries to hit, but I don't think he's terrible either. There's no guarantee you're going to bring in a rookie safety that's going to start over him right away. Possible, but maybe not. But I think they do draft the safety because Mitchell is approaching the end of that contract. And let's face it, we could definitely see a little improvement there in terms of ball hawk skills. But I think safety is down the line as far as the draft, unless that special player is there. Because even guys like Marcus May, I know they brought him in as well. They brought in Obi. They brought in some safety. So you never know what's going to happen. But once again, before I close it up, guys, I think this is going to be my quote-unquote predictor mock draft. First round pick, TJ Watt. Second round, Trey White. Third round, Josh Dobbs. The third round pick, Rasul Douglas, cornerback out of West Virginia. And then in the fourth round, I think it's going to be Kenny Golladay. Again, I'm going off of the Steelers' history. I'm looking at the pre-draft visits. I'm looking at the measurables in terms of what the Steelers want to do. And I'm also looking at this from the perspective that all of the other top guys that we're expecting in these positions, even, edge rushers, et cetera, will be off the board. So that's how I come to that conclusion. But we'll see. We will see. Either way, I'm going to swing the towel. Here we go. I'm getting excited for Thursday, man. Friday and Saturday. Can't wait to see what our team is going to look like going into training camp. And let's just hope for some good picks because, we right there, man. We are a solid team offensively. just need a little more defense. Not only just New England, because that's what everybody always says. How do you beat New England? But 31 other teams can say the same thing. So I'm tired of people saying that, because if it was that easy, why don't these other teams beat them? So it's not just how do you beat New England? How do we build the best team out there? You know what I mean? To beat everybody. You don't want to worry about just New England, because a fluke could happen and New England could lose. You understand what I'm saying? So we just got to become a better team so we can be a force going forward. And we're in that transition right now with a lot of young guys. It's going to happen, man. It's going to happen. And there's going to be some lull too, because you got to remember, Ben ain't going to be there that long. He's not going to be there much longer. So we got to go through this transition, but we got to get this defense together to at least give the Steelers another shot at it while Ben Roethlisberger is still there. Because you can guarantee once Ben leaves, whether it's Dobbs or another quarterback, years to come, it's going to take a while before they can get it going. You know, so there you have it, guys. Pretty long show today, but again, can't wait for Thursday. We're going to see what happens, and I'm probably going to do a recap of the first, I'll say the first 2 rounds. So after the first round, I'll do a special edition. I'll give my thoughts on our pick that night. I'll probably just, boom, put up the video, give my thoughts on the guy that we picked, and then I'll probably do the same for day 2. Not going to worry about day 3. We'll cover all of that in next week's show. But I'm definitely going to do special editions on the first round pick and the second and third round picks. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys. Y'all know the routine. If you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Cut on your notifications so you know a new video is coming. And I promise, it'll never hurt you to hit the like button. So let me check one more time and see if there's any other comments before we go. Deron Smith says, what about us getting Sam Shield? I haven't really thought about that, really. Don't know about that one, man. Maybe I'll elaborate on that maybe next show. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about that one. Tony says, yes, sir, Reddick can drop in coverage. Yeah, Charlie Casserly says he might be there, so we'll see. And Jeff Stepp says, hopefully Obi and Josh. Yes, man, Josh Dobbs, trust me. The Steelers are high on this dude. They're high on him, and they're high on Kaya. And when you look at the quarterbacks that are going to be available, those are probably going to be the guys who are available around that time. I know I heard that they also, let me check. There's another guy, Davis Webb, I know they brought in, and Nathan Peterman. It could be any of those guys, but I like Dobbs. I like Dobbs. None of these guys are standouts, but hey, I mean, this quarterback class really ain't all that anyway. And we talking about trying to replace Roethlisberger. I mean, that's going to be hard for anybody to do. I like the upside in Dobbs, and the boy is intelligent. All right, last thing here. This is going to be the last thing. What is your opinion on Peppers after the news? Oh, guys, I forgot to talk about Peppers. Well, let me say it real quick because I got to get out of here. He's going to fall. He's going to fall. I don't know how far. I will say this. 2 names I'm going to say real quick. If they fall, let's say Peppers falls to the 3rd round, take a chance. Why not? Even a second, if that's somebody you like. Another guy, if this guy falls to the 3rd round because of injury, Sidney Jones, take him. You take that guy in the 3rd if he falls. Because go watch that boy's tape. That dude is legit. All corners have rough edges, but that dude is nasty. I've seen him play man. He's a ball hawk guy. I've seen him in zone. Sidney Jones is ridiculous. It's just too bad that he got injured. But if he's there in the 3rd, why not? Take a chance. All right, I got to go, guys. I got to get back to work. Appreciate everything, man. And we'll see you guys after the 1st round pick on Thursday. I'll come right back and give you my thoughts on that pick. All right. Peace.